Hello, guys. Good afternoon. This is Prateek. I'm a senior software engineer at Porter, and the topic for the day is Invincible React States with domain-driven design. Before I move forward, a quick word about Porter. So, Porter is a intracity marketplace for intracity logistics. We connect people with their business needs through a network of 50,000 trucks, and we are also solving some personal use cases, right? Two-wheeler delivery, a two-wheeler vehicle category for hyperlocal delivery, and packers and movers for shifting needs. And we currently operate in 10 cities across India. And I work in the front-end team of Porter, where we use React and ReasonML as our stack. Okay, so that was a quick introduction about Porter, and let's get into the presentation. Cool. So the idea today is how we can convert our business cases, our business use cases to models or which speak the language of the business. In short, how we can write code that represents and is our business use cases and is quite rich as the real use cases are. How does it going to help us? It's going to help us by removing all the ambiguity that comes during a product development lifecycle, where context gets lost when things are translated between different teams in a product environment. Okay, so the goal today is to create a shared domain model that enables good design, hassle-free development, and clear communication. Let me take a very simple example. For example, we have an order management system, okay, where a request for order comes, it is processed, it's placed, then it's billed, it's shipped, and then the acknowledgement is sent to customers. So quickly in your mind, you can identify there are a lot of different areas if I can divide this whole ecosystem into my order placement team, my shipping team, my billing team. So in my shipping team, I can call that my order is shipped order. That is what my context in that particular team would be. And shipped order will be a part of my domain model. How does it help? It helps because now when people will be talking to each other, that includes we and our code, we will be always be talking in terms of this common terminology, shipped order. And that is not the only the terminology of the talking, it will be the terminology that would be there in our design as well, as we'll see. Getting a little technical now. So if shipped, there is a team in the, for example, in Porter, which owns the shipped order system. So only those guys would be aware of how we can translate or how the data persists in the database and how it is translated to this domain. Rest, all the consumers, be the front-end team, the other teams, the product, the business, they all need to work around this shipped order domain model only. And this can evolve separately and then talk to other systems like the billing system through a properly defined interface. So that is where my shared model, mental model is so powerful. Okay. So let's dissect that domain-driven design a bit. What are domains? Domain is an area knowledge associated with the problem we are trying to solve. So whatever is my business case is my domain, and who all are experts, we have certain term called domain experts. So like your product or the business are your domain experts. What are domain models? Domain model is the dictionary to the area knowledge, right? So it is the common, once things like that your product development cycle starts, domain model becomes your dictionary, your shared mental model, which I just talked about for all in your team. Okay, so domain is your problem space, domain model is the solution space. What is domain-driven design? So it's an approach where the structure and language of the code talks in terms of business. So guys, this is not a methodology, it's not an algorithm, it's just the way of doing things. It's highly subjective. The only requirement, the basic requirement is when you design and write your code, your design should be as rich as your business. It should dictate the rules your product is dictating. That's the only basic things we have to keep in mind. Okay. So all of us are front-end devs. So let us explore key triple D, which is domain-driven design. Where does it fit in our front end? So take the small diagram which we have now. I'll just walk you through it. So we have something called a network request where you fetch the data. We have a state and a state mapper. The state mapper actually deserializes the data from the request into the state. Then we have view model in VM, and then we have VM mapper, and then we have the view. Let me explain you this with a example. So for example, you have a list of orders. Okay, these can be the trips if you imagine an app like Ola or Uber, and I have to show these orders on the platform separated by geo regions. That is the requirement, for example. Now, how do we do this? So we make the network call. We make the network call. We make the network call, and we have a list of orders with us in the state. Now, in view model, what we can do is we can segregate those orders by geo region using a map data structure, and then show them in a table depending on the geo region in the view. Geo regions are like my Bengaluru, Hyderabad. These are the geo regions I'm talking about. So state is the domain model for my application, the front-end application. VM, you can say view model is a domain model for my view because view consumes it. So as we go through the talk, this is where state is where I'll be focusing on. Because if we model our state accurately to the business requirements, our half the battle is won. That is why you would have heard, like, when we start the project, the lead asks us, or we are first to we first design the state, because we know if we can model the state accurately, we can, like, going forward, we just need to worry about the stuff which is the writing of the code is not that difficult. But if you model your things, you understand things incorrectly, then it creates problem down the cycle. So that is what we are trying to avoid here. Okay. So I would be explaining you this process. How do we use domain-driven design through a product requirement documentation which I have created, and I'll walk you, and then I'll show you the domain model. Two things to note: the domain-driven design which I'll be showing you is functionally oriented, and ReasonML is the language of the choice. So ReasonML is a wonderful language if you want to do things functionally on the front end, along with the power of static typing. Okay, so guys, from this talk, I would want you to focus more on what I am doing and why I'm doing, how I'm doing, the language constructs, the philosophy of the framework. That is not important today. Okay, cool. The use case. So guys, we will be generating an account statement for an enterprise business account. What's an enterprise business account? So for example, your company has an enterprise account of Uber. It means that all the employees of the company can book the trips with the company account, and then once bi-monthly or at the end of month, you will get an account statement with a list exactly what is what all trips were there, the detail of the trips, and the final how much amount the Uber you have to pay to the Uber, the company has to pay to the Uber. So we will be taking such an enterprise model in an example, for which we will have to generate the account statement. This is the detailed PRD. I will walk you through it with the help of a diagram. So let's start. So our account statement. Account statement has a statement ID and a wallet and a cycle summary and a business info. Also, focus the use of my words and or. That will help us when we model the domain. Okay. Wallet. Now the customer, this is the account statement for the customer for Uber in this case. So customer wallet can be of type credit or cash. Cash is like a Paytm wallet, credit is like your credit card. If the wallet is of type cash, it has a wallet balance, a credit limit, and a credit limit consumed. If it's a cash wallet has a wallet balance. So If I talk about credit, for example, you have a credit of 20,000 rupees, you spend 5,000, so your wallet balance becomes minus 5,000 if you are a credit customer and your available credit limit is 15,000. That's the way it's working here if it's credit. Okay. Statement ID, it's a unique string which you can identify a statement. Business info is like your name and brand name, like Ola and ANA Technologies. Cycle summary and wallet. I described what wallet is. Let's go to cycle summary. What is cycle summary? Cycle summary has a list of orders which can be placed on the business account. It's equivalent to trips. If I would say, I have a list of transactions, date of generation, the date the statement will be generated, and cycle duration, which has start time, end time, and time zone. List of transactions, a transaction can be of type credit or debit. Okay. So because when you make recharges, it's the credit. If you are paying for the expenses, it's debit. So, okay, so this was my PRD and account statement. Now, this is what is domain, which I explained you. Now, what I will be modeling is the part of domain model, the problem, the solution. Okay, so let's get here. Okay, guys, I think the screen is visible. Okay, I think the code is visible. Okay, so this is my top level entity, account statement, which has a statement ID, an account summary or the account cycle, which I say here, business info, and a wallet info. This is a reasonable record. A reasonable record is like any other object, but here we have keys and explicitly defined types. So yeah, we can see string is a primitive type, account cycle.t is a custom type. It is another record. So we are making our solution by composing types. Okay, and now if you see here, I'll just be switching back and forth. This was my domain. Now this is my domain model. There is some similarity, right? A lot of similarity actually. Okay, so now let's go to account cycle, and we see we have again a record which has these four things: transaction list, orders, cycle duration, date of generation. Cycle orders is anyways a list of orders. Okay, again, so if I go here, you see cycle summary, which I'm calling account cycle. I should have said account cycle. It has these four things. Now, if I come back, okay, my account cycle, it has these four things. Okay, let's go to wallet. Now, wallet can be of type credit wallet and cash wallet, as we discussed. Now, you see something different, right? So this is what we call variant in reasonable. Variant is like enum, which you are, I think, more familiar with, and with a payload. Enums mean you're not allowed to have payloads. In variants, you are allowed to have payloads. At fundamentally, this is OR condition. This was my AND condition. Account statement has these and this and this and this. Wallet can be of type this or this. Okay, what is in the payload? If I go to credit wallet, it has a credit limit. This is my credit wallet strategy. The credit wallet usage has wallet balance and credit limit used. So this is subjective. It is not necessary when you go and design your domain model or it looks exactly the same, but it should, as I said before, it should look exactly same as your PRD. These things are like, and there are more than one ways of doing it, as it is always with the code. Okay. And then I have cash wallet, which has wallet balance and last recharge event. Okay. What I'll also do here is, because I'm going through it, I'll also show you the final output so that you guys understand by what will I create. So something like this, guys. So this is my credit account statement, which I'll be sending. And so as we know, we have wallet is of two types. So we will have two types of statement. This is my cash account statement, which has everything. Okay, so this is my final output, like your front end. We are generating a PDF here using a beautiful library, thanks to those guys, the open source guys. Okay, so for example, I have last recharge amount here. Now I come back, just showing you the context. So let's now see something. Okay, let's get back here. Let's get to account cycle. I wanted to show you something. Okay, let's get to cash wallet. Okay, now cash wallet has something called as last recharge event. Okay, so the last recharge event is option of recharge event.t. Recharge event.t is another record. So why do we use option here? So option is also an inbuilt variant or inbuilt way in reasonable to represent OR types. And what it is telling me is कि भाई, this value can be there or cannot be there. That's the nullable types which we talk about in general. So, and this satisfies my business case as well, because if if there is no, for example, recharge in the cycle, this event can be null. There will be no last recharge event kind of sort of things. So this is like my domain speaking to my business, another example. And someone who is consuming this domain, be it the front end, the view, or even any other service, they will know that this thing we have to handle. For example, right now, this domain model is more for my view, the React view. So the front end will know, okay, bhai, either last recharge event is optional. It means we will have to handle the case where the value is null by using something like an NA instead of the actual value. And this is where we can handle errors which we have seen in JavaScript. So you would have seen errors like null of amount not found. So because you were expecting that null, but it came null, right? So those things, like your code is speaking to you. Bhai, I have already taken this thing into account. My business has taken this thing into account. So let's take this into account in our code as well. Okay. What else is here? Okay, this is interesting. So this is my order type. Let's come here. So again, you see that, okay, ये क्या है? This is again the variant. ठीक है, the or. So I knew that my order can be of these five, can have these five statuses that I knew from my business. It can be open, accepted, live, completed, cancelled, like a trip, the way you book your cab. Same terminology. But we knew कि, for example, when the trip is of status completed, it has certain more information, started time, end time, and we know that this information should only be present in our state if the value is completed. Matlab, if the order is of type open, no, sorry, status open, you cannot have this value. So when you go through a state like this, you can understand, okay, so I have my business case and I have represented it here, and it is same way as the product dictates. Okay, don't worry about how you are going to consume it, or when we write code, or when we actually put this value into view, how are we going to use it. That is not relevant right now. Right now what is relevant is we are baking in everything we know from the PRD. The product, your product manager has spent a lot of effort preparing that PRD. He has talked to a lot of people. So as when we are doing this, we are also putting in that effort, which I mentioned in the beginning, that your domain model should be as rich as your real use cases, if not exactly rich. Okay, sorry, coming back to the original discussion. One more thing. So this is another way of representing data. Okay, let me show you one more thing. Okay, so type T is equal to list of cycle orders or T. This is telling me that I can have a list of orders in my system. Okay, fine. You told me I have put it like this. Now, list of orders means that the list can also be empty. I think if I missed, so account statement should not be sent if no cycle orders are present. That is what my PRD says. This guy is telling me it's a list which is okay, but this domain model also saying I'm okay accepting empty orders. Does my PRD tells me like that? No, right? So this is the mistake which I did during my execution of the project, and I think if Shashank and Mani are there on the call, they'll relate to it. Shashank is my product manager, and Mani is my backend counterpart. So this I discovered when I was doing the final testing and some things like that. So ideally, I should have modeled this as a non-empty list. I don't have a code here because I'm still figuring out the best way to do it in Reason ML. But the point is that these subtle things can make a very good difference when you actually deploy your code. Okay, especially when there is a data set is quite big. Okay. Okay. So I think you guys got a hang of it, what we are trying to do here. obviously there I have just scratched the surface and there is a lot to do. And we are figuring it out, but it's a good start. And the way of, if we represent our data the way we are doing it, we get to know our product inside out. So I'll be just walking you through some of my key points here, so which I was talking about better product ownership from developers. So you imagine you are going through the PRD, which is something which is not there in PRD, or asking people around. So when you end up creating your domain model, you end up in a better position as the owners of your product. Okay, and this was the React state I was talking to you about. Everyone talks in one language. We already know we will always talk in one language. If I say order status, my product guy says order status, the business says order status, everybody says order status, and that is when my code says order status, and that is the goal. Cost of change is minimized, yes. Now, if something changes, now there is a very good use case. I have this domain modeled here, but my view wants to change because there is a lot of ways you can represent data on the UI. Sure, you go and change your view, but we will never change my state. I was fetching a data from one API. Now I have to fetch it from 6 APIs. Does this change? No, maybe the way we handle the APIs, make the API calls, put it in the store may change, but my domain model will never change. So that is what I meant when I say cost of change is minimized. API integrations are frictionless. If your domain is well thought, you can integrate very quickly. Like I was able to do the API integration from my PDF account statement, which I was generating within half an hour, barring those two, one thing which I told, like cycle orders were empty list, and one or two more things which we should have taken care of while we develop API contract, but they are frictionless. And we all have had that experience ki we are doing API integration, then we realize, array, this data should have come like this. Oh, the model should have been like this. Oh, I was not even supposed to send you this. Those kind of things, when they happen in the end, it's really bad for the development cycle and for the product as a whole. Documentation is in the code. Yes, documentation is in the code. You don't need any extra documentation, because if you're looking at something like this, you know what is there, what are even the use cases are baked in here. And this is very helpful because we all know, we devs and the product, nobody lasts the full life cycle of a product. Very few people last. So if you have a code like this, it's actually helpful. And guys, so I think one more thing which I would say is that these things, especially domain-driven design, the way to do it is obviously read your PRD well and start designing. You read, you implement, but you discuss also. Discussions are a key part of the way when you do things this way. And whatever I'm telling you, a big part of this is my review comments, the review comments on my design. So discussions are a healthy part until your design is freezed. You talk to everybody, not just your tech. The way it's obviously different in different companies, but it's very essential. Okay, so I think you guys took something out of it. It's not easy to come up to this point of view. I'm speaking here but I have done I've 1.5 years I've been doing things this way, and so it doesn't happen in a day, and it is not for everybody. This is very helpful for enterprise applications, may not be helpful in other ways, but it's worth a try. So I was grateful to this book, Domain Modeling Made Functional by Scott Wollaston. Wonderful book. Blush and Endraw. So if you saw these people in my slides, these are created by Blush. Thanks to Pablo and his team. It's a wonderful illustration product. The wonderful folks at Reason who create and support ReasonML. ReasonML, still you don't find much question and answers on Stack Overflow, but we have a wonderful Discord community which helps us. And the amazing team at Porter, without whom this talk would not have been possible. A special thanks to Shubham, my colleague and mentor, who helped me come up with this. So, and special thanks to Kiran and Kamlesh for giving me the opportunity to speak, and to all of you for taking half an hour out of your Friday and coming and listening to me. So I would like to close my talk with this. We all know legacy code is bad. It's kicked around. So I ask you, what kind of code would you want to build? Is it a legacy code which people stay away, or it is a code which you are proud of, and when the people who come after you work, they also find it equally entertaining as you found it. Okay, so thank you all. Hope you have an amazing day. Bye bye.